Hello. I wanted to talk today about enmeshment, which is different from codependency. Um, and for me, um, I just thought that enmeshment was part of my avoidant personality disorder and how it manifested. However, um, it's different. And it's very possible that a lot of people have either enmeshment or codependency or both with their avoidant personality disorder, um, because it is how people deal with the people they have relationships with. But the reason why I wanted to point out that it's distinct, because it really did take me a long time to realize that, is the same reason that, for instance, if someone has depression and they just assume it's part of the avoidant personality disorder, it's not, it's different. It could be a situational depression um, that's caused because of the lifestyle you're living with avoidant personality disorder. Okay, yeah, then you just need to learn coping skills. But you could also have a brain chemical imbalance, which could be affected positively by medication. And so, you know, pointing out to yourself that they're two different things and treating them separately, um, you could um, find some success in um, alleviating the symptoms. So the same with enmeshment. What it is, well, first of all, enmeshment, that's a cat. Specifically, actually, I don't know if you'd be able to hear it, is to do with usually family members. Um, so either, biological or your partner that you're with. Um, and codependency is just how you are interacting with everyone. Codependency will limit how you can interact with basically anybody. But enmeshment specifically is for your family members, not only, but by a huge percentage of the time, like a greater percentage. Um, Things like you can't say no to them. Things like um, if someone has a different opinion, um, that's definitely not okay. That's like earth shattering, and everybody must be on the same um, sort of way of thinking about things. Stuff like that. That's not really probably as helpful as it could be. It's really hard for me to talk about it because I get a lot of enmeshment. It was, I had abusive enmeshment with my mother, who, she was just like, assumed that I was at her beck and call and would drop everything for her. And she was actually reinforcing that by being abusive, which took me years and years and years to be able to say that. And then now my son, who is almost 23, has learned that, and he's not abusive. He just assumes. Obviously, if he needs something, then I will do it. Period. If he wants something, I will do it. He he lives about a half an hour away from me, and he just assumes that I would drop everything and drive in to give him a ride to a store that is 5 minutes from his house when he could walk. Um, he's enmeshed financially. Like, just this week he called me up and he's like, "Mom, I'm like, you know, $40 shy from my phone bill, and I get paid next week, and obviously you're just going to put money in my account for me." And he was just shocked. He's like, "Well, I mean, you must have Venmo. You have everything. You can do this. She's absolutely shocked that I wasn't immediately doing it. Now, the thing is, since I've realized that I'm enmeshed, I can then sort of see what's happening and then make a decision, as opposed to when you're truly enmeshed, whatever the family wants, you can't say no. I mean, I've said that, if you've seen my videos, that it's very difficult for me to turn down requests of people. It's difficult at work. It's difficult basically anywhere. It's like, I don't like to ever say I'm going to do something because, you know, I'm not allowed basically to change my mind and have my plans change. That is not avoidant personality disorder. That is enmeshment. And in my case, I have so few people in my life that um, there just isn't that much of a difference between um, non-family members and family members for me, because there's just so few people. So, and that's why it's like, it feels like it's across the board, but it actually isn't. Because like, I do feel bad if I have to cancel on somebody. Like, I never call in sick. I could be sick as a dog and I'm still going to work, stuff like that. Um, as far as working goes, but it's almost impossible to say no to a family member. And so I avoid my family members because I don't want to be taken advantage of them, in a nutshell. Um, so it's sort of like a cycle that is perpetuating. But again, when I see it for what it is, then I can make a choice. On the other hand, I mean, the thing that's really odd to me, but also this is how I know for sure it's happening. This is how I know it's the enmeshment. It's what's happening. Is that it does not happen in reverse. So this week I had a interesting time. Timing belt went on my car, and which means that I have to get a new motor. So I've been attempting to live in suburbs without a car, and I mean, I am living in the suburbs. I'm saying that like it's stressful, but it's fine. Um, and of course, I'm going to have this massive big bill to put a new motor into my car. Um, I Again, my son was doing this. Hey, I would like you to drive me home from work. I mean, he was just like, I totally was like ignoring this, but he's just like, yep, you're coming on Thursday. You're going to come in and drive me home from work randomly. And so I felt incredibly bad that I had to call and say, hey, I don't have a car at the moment, so I can't drive you home. And it took him a second for him to understand that really, truly, I don't have a car. But then immediately he's like, okay, well, I have this much money in my bank account. You can use that. And I was like, no. I mean, thanks for the offer, but I mean, immediate, hard, definite, absolute, no way would I take help from anybody. Now that is, again, it's a reaction to being enmeshed in my family, that I don't want to owe anybody anything. I mean, I hate owing people anything. I hate having like credit cards. I hate any of that. It drives me crazy. Um, like people are like, are you going to buy a house? I say no, because the idea of having a mortgage and, I mean, it's one thing to have a rent. Um, if I didn't pay my rent, they'd just kick me out and I'd be homeless. Oh well. But if I had a mortgage, I mean, and that's a lot of money. I don't think so. Same thing. I just don't. I'm just not comfortable with owing anybody anything. I'm not comfortable with having, yeah, in like on an interpersonal level. If somebody was like, "Come over, I'll make you dinner," I mean, that I would never ever accept unless it was like a massive family obligation. Like for instance, like holidays or something. The whole family's getting together, and everybody is going to be there, and I'm like required to be there as part of the family. But on a one-on-one, no way, because then I would feel obligated to reciprocate, and I don't know I could do that. I probably couldn't do it to the level that they did it. And yeah, no, no, never happened. That is a symbol. That's a symptom of the enmeshment of that my reaction, because again, with avoidant personality disorder, what it is you trying to um, keep yourself safe. Um, so this absolute refusal to do anything where I would be ever having it hang over my head that I would need to reciprocate or pay somebody back, that is a reaction to the enmeshment, where my family seemed to think that there were no boundaries whatsoever. Sorry, I've got a hair. And that they could dictate to me what I was going to do, where I was going to do it, and everything else, and that they had that control over me, and I had no right to deny that. And that seemed so much of a part of having, my avoidant personality disorder. I did not see that it was different. And again, that's different from codependence, mostly because of um, who it's attached to. Well, plus also when you're codependent, you are kind of expecting other people to help you. Somebody who has been enmeshed and basically taken advantage of by family members because of that, it's the other way. It's like it's taking from you instead of taking from somebody else. In a nutshell. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that if you're dealing with this and coping with this, a lot of what happens when you have avoidant personality disorder, once it's set and it's your personality, it's just your personality. But if it's enmeshment, you do have a choice. You might not feel like you have a choice, and it might feel like you have to. You're like you can never go back on your word or anything like that. That you have to do what everybody has told you to do. Just immediately do it. Um, and it usually is like, okay, well, you know, I'm inviting you to dinner, so you have no right to say no, that sort of thing. Or, I mean, I have a cousin. I mean, it's not enmeshment. Um, if everybody had just, she was just like unbelievable. But if everybody had just done it without question, oh, I'm being told to do this because she told me to, then that would have been enmeshment. But she had to have a mastectomy. Now she lived with her husband and one of her kids was still young, but two of her kids were in college. And she told the entire family, she gave them lists of what they were going to do. She lives like 3 hours away from everybody else. And, like these were the people that were coming to bring her dinner on these dates, et cetera, because she just felt she had the right to do that. She did the same thing. She had a bowel renewal, and she just told my mother that she was going to make the wedding cake. At the time, my mother was on oxygen. She couldn't even walk. She couldn't be near a stove. She just was like, oh, well, I don't really care about your physical problems. You're just going to do this. Now, if my mother had been enmeshed, even though she probably could have blown herself up because she was on oxygen near the stove, even though it literally probably would have put her in the hospital, she would have done it. But here's the thing, hopefully you don't have anybody that's that extreme, that's just like doesn't have any contact with you at all until they're like, okay, I'm going to hand out, your orders for what you need to be doing right now. I mean, you might have somebody that extreme. I'm sorry. That would explain part of why you have avoidant personality disorder. But I mean, it could be just, again, assume that you're going to do everything and you're just going to do it, and just absolute shock that you maybe thought of something else that you would want to do. That's enmeshment, and you have a choice. And you can choose, do I want to do this thing or do I not? And just keep that in mind. If somebody is doing something and putting a request to you, you don't have to immediately react. You can, don't say anything. Don't confirm, don't deny, don't anything, nothing. And don't go with whatever the knee-jerk reaction that you're having is. I mean, maybe you'll end up doing whatever they're asking. Maybe you'll end up agreeing with the knee-jerk reaction. But give it time and think about it. Is this something you'd like to do? Is this something that is going to cause an undue burden or stress on you? And make a decision about whether you're going to do it or not, rather than just going along with it. Because if you just have somebody constantly, insisting that you're going to agree with everything that they say, then that could be enmeshment. I mean, the other thing is, especially with opinions, that right now I'm in the United States and politics are still like crazy. I don't understand it. I'm one of those people who's been around long enough to remember when politics were not about you just belong to the tribe and go along with whatever the lunatic at the top says, but you actually think about it, have opinions. You can do a little of this and a little of that, and come up with compromises in the middle instead of being as extreme as possible. But there are a lot of people who are fully enmeshed who are like, okay, well, maybe I don't agree with this thing that somebody is saying or doing, but my family is telling me that they're the people that I'm going along with, and so they're the people I'm going along with. I mean, that's a really low-hanging fruit type example, but and in case you're wondering, yeah, I think there are nuts on all sides. As far as politics is concerned, right now everybody seems to be trying to be as extreme as possible, and nobody wants to be in the middle, and nobody wants to compromise. But anyway, I'll get away from politics. I just didn't want anybody to think I'm absolute. Oh, I got you pegged, because you probably don't. Anyway, so yeah, but you don't need to go along with whatever somebody says, and in enmeshed relationships with your family, if you disagree with somebody, they don't see it as a disagreement, they see it as a betrayal. Again, that's a sign that you're enmeshed. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. For me, it's really easy to see the physical things And it's really easy for me to see the outrage and panic and anger that happens if I disagree with somebody who feels that I should be enmeshed. Um, I'm old school. I have Facebook, and let me tell you, I have plenty of cousins that I have blocked on Facebook because I am not listening to whatever they're spewing. And again, that's a choice. If you're enmeshed, you feel like you just not only have to listen to it, but also have to agree with it, or else you're being non-supportive. No. And these are people that it's not like I've completely cut them out of my life. Um, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I am avoidant. I see them maybe once a year, but it's not like I'm never going to see these people again. They're gone. You don't have to do that. You can actually pick and choose. Now, if because they're enmeshed and they're crazy and they think, okay, well, if I don't agree with this one bizarro statement, then I'm no good to them and they want to cut me out of their life, I'm like, oh, good riddance. But that is basically what I wanted to say. Plus one other thing. I have seen the criticism that you don't hear me on these videos. I don't know why. It used to work fine, and then suddenly people can't hear me. So the reason I'm making this video, I mean, it is a topic that I don't think I've covered, which is there aren't many left. But also, I'm experimenting with a microphone. Yes, I'm not even looking near the camera because I'm like horrified at the idea of it, because I don't like the idea that people want to listen to me. I know that's weird. That's the avoidance that I've got nothing good to say. So maybe having these videos where you can't hear whatever I'm spouting off about is better than being able to hear me. That's how I think. Anyway, so there's video. See how it sounds. See if you can hear it at all. And hopefully it'll help again if you can see it and then make the choice. Then, even if you're going along with whatever the enmeshment is, you'll feel better if you've made the choice to go along with it, because you do have a little bit of control over it, rather than I just have to do what everybody tells me to do and I have no choice. It's the little things that you can do to get control and to feel like your entire life is not, wrapped up in the avoidant personality disorder, but that you can work with it, with your life, and make your life better. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye-bye.